Hi everyone, welcome to another Khan Academy tutorial. Today we're going to be doing the midpoint formula advanced. Now, if you haven't seen already, I suggest if you're not comfortable with midpoint to watch my previous video on midpoint formula for Khan Academy. It kind of goes into the basics because I'm going to be referencing things we've already determined in that video. The first thing is the formula, the midpoint formula. The midpoint formula is essentially this. To find our x value, we add the x values of the 2 points together and divide those values by 2 to get our midpoint value for x, and the same thing for y. Let's make this green, I suppose. We add our y values, y1 plus y2 divided by 2, and that equals our y midpoint. So when we put it into a ordered pair, it could look one of two ways. We could call it xm comma ym, but that's the same thing as this, x1 plus x2 divided by 2, comma, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. Okay, keep in mind that x1 and y1 and x2 and y2, these are endpoint values. These are endpoints, and then these two guys are midpoints. Okay. So this question says point P lies on the y-axis at a distance of 9 units above the origin. Now, I don't know why they put it in complicated words like that. They can just say it's at the point 0, 9. I think that would be just nice for all of us. But anyway, P also lies on AB. This is point P, by the way. Let's call it P. On AB and is equidistant from A and B. Okay, that makes P a midpoint for us. What are the coordinates of B? Well, if P is a midpoint, that makes A and B endpoints. So this is an endpoint and B is an endpoint. So in this case, we're given these values here. We're going to be given ym and xm, and we need to find one of the endpoints. In this case, we'll call it x2 and y2. We'll say x2 and y2 are B. So we'll call B as x2, comma y2, because we don't know what those values are. The first thing you always want to do is you're going to want to label. So let me use a different color. I'm going to label A as x1, y1. Okay? Our x value and our y value for the first point. P is our midpoint, so we'll call this xm and ym. That means the midpoint of our x value and the midpoint of our y value. Okay, now let's go ahead and plug in what we know for the formulas. So if we're plugging in, let's just start with the top one, xm. We know that xm is equal to 0, so 0 is going to be equal to x1, which we know is negative 12. We wrote that down, plus x2. We don't know what the other value is, divided by 2. So we'll go ahead and solve here. We're going to multiply both sides by 2 to get rid of the fraction. Boom, boom, boom. That's going to be 0 equals negative 12 plus x2. So add both sides to 12 to both sides, and we get 12 equals x2. All right, so we have x2 is 12. We're already done with the first step. This is our x2. Now we need to find our y2. Let's go ahead and do that. We will do that in green. Yeah, we'll go ahead and do that in green. So now we're trying to find our actually we'll just go ahead and use the same color. So our ym right here, our ym was equal to 9 equals, and our y1 was this guy right here, which is 15. So we say 15. And then we added to y2. We don't know what that is, but we know it's the other y value for B. And we divide that by 2. We're going to multiply both sides by 2. 18 equals 15 plus y2. We subtract 15 to both sides. We get 3 equals y2. And so now we have our midpoint for the y value is 3. So we're going to write 12, 3, and for our answer here, 12, comma 3, check it, take it to the bank. Okay, a line intersects x and y axes at two distinct points. A and C respectively. The midpoint of line segment AC lies at 26, negative 19. Find the distance of point C from the origin. Okay, so a line intersects A and Y axes at two distinct points, A and C respectively. Okay, so let's kind of visualize this first. We're going to draw the coordinate plane, and we're going to say intersects X and Y axes at two distinct points, A and C respectively. So we're going to say A intersects the X axis, and then C intersects the Y axis, like this. Okay. The midpoint of line segment AC lies at 26, negative 19. Well, I drew my picture wrong. I can tell you that. It should look something where we have a negative value. So it intersects the midpoint, 26, negative 19. So we're going to draw our C down below, actually. C. Okay. Because we just need a rough estimate of where B is. B needs to be 26, negative 19. Okay. And notice how the X value is positive here, and then the Y value is negative. Find the distance of point C from the origin. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we need to kind of figure out what our X and Y values are, and then go from there. So let's start with our formula. We have the XM equals X1 plus X2 divided by 2. And then we have YM, and that equals Y1 plus Y2 divided by 2. The key to this problem is that we know certain things about A and C. Although we don't know what all their values, we know some of them. What are some of the values that we know? Well, we know that A has a value on the x-axis, and that means its y value is 0. But our x value we don't know, so we're going to call it x1. What about C? Well, C is on the y-axis. That means its x value is 0. But we don't know its y value, so we're going to call that y2. We can't call that y1 because it's not y1, it's y2. All right, and then we know B, and B is xm, and then ym. All right, now let's plug in what we know. Let's plug in what we know about xm first. So xm we know is 26, equals x1, we don't know what that is, plus x2 we know is 0, divided by 2. Okay, we just plugged in everything we knew and everything that we labeled above here. So if you look here, we labeled everything above. Keep in mind this is x2, and then this is y1. Okay, and then we have xm and ym, which we've already labeled. So we're going to go ahead and set up the second problem so you see it. So here, I'm going to go over this way. We know that ym is negative 19, and it's equal to y1, which is 0, plus y2, which we don't know, divided by 2. Let's go ahead and solve the first one. So the purple one, we're going to multiply both sides by 2 to solve for x, and we get 26 times 2, which is 52, equals x1. There's our first value, and then we get y2, and y2 is here. Sorry, I had to locate it for a second. We're going to multiply by 2. We get negative 38 equals y2. And then it's already plus 0, so we don't need to do anything with that. There we go. Now, we're not really interested in this value here very much because that's point A. We're only interested in C. So we know that the x value is 0. Find the distance of point. Okay, so let me just... We know it's at 0, negative 38. So if it's asking for the distance, we know it's 38 units away from the origin. So that's what it's looking for. We're going to type in 38. Check it. There we go. Okay. P is the midpoint of line segment AB. So P is the midpoint of line segment AB. Find the value of A. And it's got all of this junk in between. Okay, so let's go ahead and label our things first. So first we know that this is the midpoint. So we're going to call this XM, ym. Okay. Midpoint A of segment AB. So these are our endpoints. Let's call this x1, y1, and we'll call this guy x2, y2. Find the value of A. Well, we already know that xm needs to be equal to x1 plus x2 divided by 2. So we can just substitute values and we'll be able to find it. Now there might be some algebra involved, but I mean it's pretty straightforward. So we have negative a plus, I'm going to put this in parentheses just because there's a lot going on with x2, a over 6 minus 3 all over 2. Wow, that's kind of an ugly problem, but we're going to start simplifying it by multiplying everything by 2. So once we do that, we get rid of the fraction on the right and we get rid of some of the fractions on the left. So we multiply this 2 and we have to distribute to both of these. Sorry, that was supposed to be an arrow. We distribute to both things. We get, we get 18 over 2, which is also 9. Essentially, the fractions cancel over here. So we get 9 minus, and then we 2 times 7, and we get 14. Oh, that's not 9, that's an A. Sorry about that. That is an A, not a 9. Okay, I should make it a little bit curvy. So now we have this over here equals negative A plus A over 6 minus 3. So I'm going to add A to both sides first to get the A's together, at least part of the A's. So then we have 2A minus 14 equals A over 6 minus 3. I don't like fractions like that. I'm going to multiply everything by 6. Once I do that, I'm going to get rid of this fraction. I think I can write here. So we have 12a minus, get my calculator. It's always good to have a buddy. 6 times 14. 6 times 14. And I get 84 equals a over 6 times 6 is just going to give me a. That's the whole point, minus 18. So now I'm going to subtract a from both sides. And I get 11a minus 84 equals negative 18. So we have negative 18 plus 84. I need to add 84 both sides to get my a alone. This is going to be the last problem, by the way. This problem is pretty long. So I get 66. So 66 equals 11a. I divide both sides by 11, divide both sides by 11. I get a equals 6. And I don't even need to mess around with y, m, and do all that because I already found my value of a, and I know it is 6 because I divided 66 by 11, and I got 6, and I'm good to go. All right, that's enough to get you to 75%, hopefully at least. Hopefully you have all the tools you need to get 100%, but this video cannot be any longer, so I'll see you next time. Bye.